Welcome to the HEARTS Entwined podcast. In this podcast, we'll be having discussions around the secrets which attract lasting, healthy, fulfilling relationships, creating a healthy mindset, and what women should know and understand about men. Introducing your host, Lyn Smith, the Queen of Hearts, relationship expert, trainer, speaker, and best-selling author of the Cupid's Bow technique. Lyn's mission is to have a positive impact in reducing divorce, domestic violence, and suicide.
Welcome to the Hearts Entwined podcast. This is your host, Lyn Smith, the Queen of Hearts. And today, listeners, I've got a lovely guest. Her name is Darlene Lekowski. Is that how you pronounce it, Darlene?
Yes, it is.
She's a survivor and she's a speaker. And I'm really excited to welcome her here today. So welcome, Darlene.
Hi, Lyn. Thank you for having me on your show. I'm really excited for the conversation today.
All right. So the survivor is a very sensitive topic. I know I can relate to this. So you explain a little bit to the audience about your survivor story to introduce yourself. If that's okay, just share what you want to share.
Sure, no problem at all. So I have to go back to a very young age, sadly. At 7 years old, the world betrayed me. From the ages of 7 to 12, my two oldest brothers who were supposed to protect and take care of their little sister, instead sexually assaulted me all those years. And so as a very young girl, I built incredible survival tactics to stay out of that house. And they worked for me for many years. And I shoved my trauma in a box, and I built like two different Darlenes. I had the Darlene that was in the box that didn't want to deal with the trauma, that the threats of my brothers, if you tell, you're going to destroy your family. If you tell, mom will commit suicide, all of those threats. So I built almost a second Darlene that became very successful. I became a businesswoman for 35 years, a wife, a mother of 3 adult children, but my trauma got exploded in 2021. And what I've discovered is boxes leak. Boxes will eventually explode, and they did for me. And I'm telling you, it's not worth keeping it all in a box.
I can so relate because, I've got my own story, which my listeners probably more than know about. And if you don't, then there's previous episodes that explain what I went through. So I can absolutely relate to what you're saying. So what was catalyst for you, Darlene?
So, like I said, I kept my trauma in a box and I thought that would be buried forever, but boxes leak. And so I didn't know I had CPTSD until 2 years ago when I was 58. But all my life, I had trauma responses and reactions. And so over the years, the box leaked, the trauma came out. I was so ashamed and so embarrassed that I had to tell my girlfriends why I behaved the way I did. So fast forward 45, 50 years, I vowed my parents were never to know, because they were, I grew up in the 1970s. Nobody talked about their trauma back then. They were huge pillars in the community, big at the church. My mom owned a Christian bookstore. I knew as a very young girl that would be buried. And I would even be more ashamed than I already was. So fast forward, it's 2021. Mom passes away of a heart attack. Dad has dementia. I don't think it's a coincidence that 3 months later, I get in a very big argument with one of the brothers. And I basically say, listen, I've had enough. He wouldn't pick up the phone. I was calling. He wouldn't pick up the phone. And I just said, look, you're going to stop treating me the way you are, because I could destroy your life if you want me to. And he told me to go for it. I mean,
Really?
what brother, if you weren't guilty, why would you tell somebody to go for it if you've just been accused of rape? You know what I mean, Lyn?
Did he actually realize that that was the thing he was referring to?
Yes, because at the end of that sentence, and thank you for asking that, Lyn, I say I could destroy your life if you want me to, rapist. So I say it right there in the text. He tells me to go for it. And then, of course, all my CPTSD comes out. I'm now going from 57 years old to a 7-year-old little girl, and I am text shouting at my rapist. I finally, the volcano, the box burst wide open. Well, I was hoping, I calmed down a day later, a couple days later. I write all three of my brothers an email. So I have two brothers who assaulted me, and the one closest in age to me, 2.5 years old, didn't assault me. We're still very close to this day. But I wrote all three of them a letter, and I just said, these are the facts. This is what happened. All I need is a sincere apology. Man up and admit to what you did, and I'll forgive you. Well, Lyn, I was hoping and praying for an apology, the one thing that survivors feel we need in order to heal. Instead, I got handed a lawsuit.
Really? Wow.
Yes. Yeah. So
From both?
I was blown away. I could not believe that he was suing me over this. And I think it was him and his wife, because she became part of the texting. And I don't think she could admit that has been married to somebody for 25 years that did this to his little sister.
Okay, so was it just the one brother then, or both the perpetrators that filed?
So it was the one brother that filed. So let me kind of give a scenario for your listeners too. So I'm the youngest of 5 children. There are my sister who passed away in 2008. She was 11 years older than me. Then I have the oldest brother, 9 years older than me, who sexually abused me. Then the brother 5 years older who sexually abused me. And then the one who didn't know anything about what was going on didn't. So long story short, the text explosion happens on May 1st, 2021. Don, the brother 5 years older than me, who was in the texting, starts calling all the family members saying, she's gone crazy. She's had a nervous breakdown. We all knew she was a pathological liar. All of these horrible things. They try to silence the victim again. So what I did, and we're all D's, so forgive the 1960s children and parents, but I called the one brother, David, 9 years older, and I just said, Dave, I know you did something to me, and I really need your help. Can you please tell me that I'm not crazy? And he admitted to it. He said, yes, I did terrible things to you, and I feel awful for what I did. Now, Lyn, mind you, he didn't know it had gone public. I didn't say anything about it, but I got the release and the relief that I needed. That brother said sorry, and that was huge for me. But unfortunately, as soon as David found out it was public, he went on Don's side and was against me. He wasn't part of the lawsuit. He is physically handicapped. He became a drug addict and alcoholic, so he is in not a good place. He just sided with the other brother, but he was not part of the lawsuit, nor was he a witness on the stand.
Wow. Okay, so this actually all went to court then, did it?
It did. I tried, you know how the court systems are. I tried for 2 years to not go on that stand. But I also made the decision, I'm not stepping back. I'm not stepping down. I am not ashamed anymore, and I'm not afraid. So I made the decision, my brother is suing me. I'm spending thousands and thousands of dollars to defend the truth. If I'm going to settle, he's going to pay me those legal fees. Well, he wouldn't ever do it. So January 29th, 2024, we go to trial. It's a 5-day trial. And you remember how I told you those girlfriends I confided in, I told 20, 25 years ago?
Yeah.
I think this is very important for your listeners. If you're not going to tell your parents, if you're not going to tell somebody, confide in someone, because those girlfriends saved my life. They helped me win the trial because all 6 girlfriends plus a therapist testified for me on the stand. And on February 5th, 2024, so my brother sued me. I countersued him for defamation. And on that date, I won both cases. And the jury said I was telling the truth and he was lying.
Excellent. Wow. So did he end up having to pay all the costs?
Oh, that's such an interesting story. So I live in Charlotte, North Carolina, and it's just, I have not been paid a dime yet. And you can read about this in my book, but the jury did award me a couple $100,000. Plus, the judge awarded me payment of my legal fees. So right now, he owes me a substantial amount of money. But because he's married and his wife was not part of the lawsuit against me and my countersuit, I'm having a very difficult time collecting. But you know what? It's not about the money. Sure, I'd love to get the 150,000 back that I spent in legal fees. But to me, it was the validation that complete strangers in 5 days heard my story and knew the truth. And you know what's so crazy, Lyn? The irony of all of it is my brother Don actually gave me a gift because by suing me and me winning the trial, I'm now able to freely and publicly tell my story without the fear of getting sued again.
Excellent. That's great because I think for a lot of women and girls, with my own personal story, I didn't tell anybody about it till I was 42.
Yeah, I can relate, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And so it was a case of I wasn't sort of seeking legal justice, part of that is because I suppose on my healing journey, I just trust that the universe, God, higher power, whatever you want to call it, will deliver its own justice on our perpetrators, regardless of whether it's through the legal system or not. So that's what frees me from being attached to anything now.
Yeah, and I think that is such a great point, Lyn, because I didn't ask for this lawsuit. I didn't pursue it. He attacked me, and my lawyer was like, why be on the defensive? Let's take some offense here, too. He's out there saying these terrible things about you. But, winning the trial, well, it was incredibly validating. It didn't heal a thing. I still had all of the anger and the bitterness and the resentment. And I honestly was truly pissed off. How dare he come after me and sue me when he knows the truth? So I really had to flip the narrative around. And in order to set myself free, in order to let go of that terrible, dark, secretive box, I had to stop doing everything about my perpetrator. The trial was about him. The rapes were about him. My anger was about him. That does me absolutely no good. Until I turned around and said, what do I need to be whole? What do I need to be fulfilled? And if you're not going to be a part of that, I'm completely rejecting you and what you represent and who you are. And I'm only going to be with people and family members that love me and take care of me and know what the truth is and are enabling me to heal and move my life forward. That's the only way to do it, Lyn.
Absolutely. It's an inside job, isn't it? You're not in control of external factors, so you have to come to peace within yourself.
Yeah, you do. And not only peace within yourself. So I did have to take a couple key steps. And even my daughter, was forced to tell all three children who were in their 20s. I mean, what mother, that was excruciating because, as survivors, the shame, what will they think of me? I'm protecting my children. And actually, it was the complete opposite. After telling my children, there was more love, there was more acceptance, there was no shame. And even my daughter, after I told her, I think she was like 24, 25, she's like, Mom, I believe you. I hear you. I understand you, but it sounds like you haven't forgiven yourself first.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that was just like a watershed moment over my whole body
Yes.
going, we have to forgive ourselves.
Yeah, because we do carry a lot of shame and guilt and that actually belongs to the perpetrator or perpetrators, doesn't it? But we tend to, as survivors, carry it on ourselves as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the shame was never ours to carry, but we do. And we have to shed ourselves of the shame. So that was one of the key steps that I had to do. The other thing I had to do, Lyn, was really look within. And that's very, very hard to do because, I had built the perfect Darlene. I was a successful businesswoman. I was in control with everything all the time because if I was in control, I wasn't getting raped. If I wasn't alone, if I was popular, I was surrounded by people and friends, I wasn't getting raped. So I became this hyper vigilant, overly obsessive control freak. I hate to use the word freak, but that's, and I thought that was just A-type personality. You know what I mean? I had to look within and go, oh, maybe all these things that I did to survive are really destroying my relationships in my adult life. So I had to shed the shame. I had to let go of control. I had to do self-acceptance and self-love. I mean, I've been married twice, and before each marriage, I said to my boyfriends at the time, you need to know this about me because I'm not worthy to be married. That's
Oh,
how bad I felt about myself. But once I released it all and I reframed the narrative that I am good, I am pure, I am not ashamed, and I am proud to be able to tell my story so that I can heal. And now I'm out there helping others heal as well.
no, good for you. And sometimes I think that is our purpose as to why we went through that event or events, is because a future you is going to be the person that helps heal others that have gone through it.
I completely agree with you. I mean, had you talked to me 5 years ago, I mean, I'm 60 now, so 57 when the lawsuit happened, I would have never told you, hey, I'm going to be writing a memoir. Hey, I'm going on podcasts. I'm going to become a motivational speaker about my trauma so I can heal others. So what I'm finding at 60 years old into my retirement is my purpose. That box exploded for a reason. And I do
Mm,
think it was destiny. I do think it was the universe saying, you know what? Maybe you can take this bad that happened to you and turn it into good.
absolutely. I love the expression that our mess becomes our message.
Oh, that's wonderful. I love that. Yeah, that is so true. I'm going to save that.
Exactly. Because it's something we can talk about because we know it, we experienced it, and a lot of people can't relate because they don't know it, they don't have experience of it. But what we can do is positively take that experience forward and help others because we've learned to. I mean, it's always a work in progress, isn't it? We're never sorted as such, but once we have learned a few tools and techniques to manage and cope with what's happened to us,
Mhm.
those things become wisdom pearls for others, that are going through the same or have been through the same.
Yeah, I think that's very true because, I've been in therapy for 25 years. and not a single process healed me. You know what I mean? I tried when I was at Michigan State University in my 20s, that's where I went to college. I went to psychiatrists and they were trying to give me more pills. So I was like, I don't need more pills. I'm a college student. I'm already doing enough drugs and alcohol to cope with what happened to me. But then, starting in 2005, I was seeing non-traditional therapists, and I do think we all need to ask for help. We all need some sort of counsel, but it might not be, the first time you try, it might not be for you. So, this guy, Rich Nisbet, who I've been seeing for 20 years, he helped me get rid of my reactive mind. I'm no longer afraid of the dark. I'm no longer afraid of all the curtains open in my house and the fear of getting raped and murdered. I've done EFT tapping. I'm about to start EMDR therapy. I'm doing myofascial release. The healing doesn't end, but I feel like every time I do one, a little nugget is removed. And my nightmares have calmed down. Now, knock on wood, I haven't had a nightmare in 5 days after doing a little bit of the myofascial release. So I'm hoping, we're close to full healing, Lyn.
Excellent. Well, that's fabulous that you're recognizing that not every technique is for every person. You have to sort of probably have a bit from this person, a bit from that person, a bit from another, and some will help and some won't. Quite frankly, is what my experience has been.
Oh, I think it's so true. And I think the key is never give up. Never give up on yourself. If it's not working, try something else, Yeah. And the other thing that helped me too was, sibling sexual trauma and abuse. It's the former word is incest. It's now called SSTA. I have done a lot of research and I thought I was going to be the first author out there. I thought I was the only one. There is a community of SSTA leaders and survivors, and a statistic that just sticks with me so much is SSTA is believed to be the most common form of childhood sexual abuse in the family, yet nobody talks about it. That's why I'm shattering the silence. And it took me a while, but I found 3 organizations in the United States. There's 5 Waves, SSTA Aware, and Incest Aware for help for survivors, because if you're just going to die about the statistic. It is believed that 1 in 20 children in a classroom in the world are currently getting sexually abused by their older brother or sister.
Yeah, I can believe that.
Yeah,
Absolutely,
that's
and
5
probably
times more.
more.
Yeah, I'm sorry, what?
And probably more than that.
Well, that's because nobody talks about it. So that's why they say believed. That is 5 times more common than a parent or uncle abusing the child. And, the sibling is typically 5 to 9 years older. I just think that is so important for your listeners to know. They are not alone. I bet there are some listeners to your show that are survivors, just like me. And, there were those organizations in the United States. There's also an organization called Thriving Survivors in the United Kingdom that I volunteer with. There's Blue Borage in Australia that I volunteer with. And I just think that it's very important to find your community, find other survivors, because I always say nobody gets a survivor like a fellow survivor. And through finding those people and resources, I've healed a lot more too.
Absolutely. And I hate it when people refer to themselves as victims when it comes to these sort of abuses, because we're not victims. We survived something, and I hate I hate others to think of themselves as a victim, because once you label yourself that, you'll live up to that label, won't you?
Absolutely. And that's why I purposely said thriver. I think that is so important. And that's part of changing the narrative, right? Changing the narrative of who you think you are and who you believe you are. You're a survivor. You're successful, you're pure, you're whole. You can do this and you can overcome. There is a quote that says, you can't always control what happened to you, but you can control what you do with it.
Absolutely. You can. Absolutely. So, Darlene, what is the best contact information that you can share with our listeners should they want to connect with you and find out more?
Sure. So all of those resources that I mentioned are on my website, which is darlene-lekowski.com. You can sign up for book updates there and subscribe to my newsletter. I'm also on Instagram at Darlene Lekowski. And with the same last name and name, you can also find me on Facebook and LinkedIn. And I would love to connect with any of your listeners. My email is darlene@darlene-lekowski.com. And I know you'll have this in the notes because my name is very long. And my book, by the way, is Shattering Silence, a story of survival, justice, and the power of telling the truth. And it was released on Amazon in all formats, including the audiobook in my voice on April 2nd, 2026.
So very, very soon. I mean, as we're
Yes.
recording this now, it is April the 1st, but I know that once this actually goes live, it'll be after that release date. So people will be in a position to look it up and buy it.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. So any last words on what you did initially once you had that sort of aha moment or breakthrough epiphany of knowing that you needed to do something to start your own healing journey, to share with our listeners that might be able to relate?
Yeah, after the trial, like I said, I still felt so numb and so empty and so angry. And so, really, what helped me tremendously was sharing my story, going public, writing my memoir, talking about it. And I'm not saying to your listeners that they have to go as public as I have. For me, it's a healing component. I am out there helping others, but share your story with somebody, write it in a journal, see a therapist, talk to girlfriends like I did. That is so critical because, Lyn, I mean, I just started going public April 10th of 2025 on Siblings Day on purpose. And a year ago, I wouldn't have been able to come on this podcast without completely crying and bawling. And that is showing how much I have healed because every single time I talk about this, I'm healing a little bit more. And I'm hoping that I'm helping at least one other person in their journey, if not many more.
I'm sure you are. It's fantastic what you're doing. And you know what? If you are listening to this and you can relate and it is bringing up stuff for you and you are shedding tears, just know that they're healing tears and it's all good, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. They became happy tears. Yeah. I'm so glad you said that because I was on a meeting with my company. They're supporting me and my story. I was on International Women's Day with 250 coworkers. Talk about scary. It was a virtual meeting and I was feeling all of the love, all the, chats. And all of a sudden the tears started forming because you're right. Those were happy tears going, oh my gosh. These people aren't disgusted by me. They love me. They're supporting me. They are bringing me up. And I do think that's such a great differentiation of happy survivor tears as opposed to victimized tears. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just thinking initially, um, people fresh to their healing journey might not feel like it's happy tears, but
Right, right. Oh, there's a
it's
process.
all
Yeah.
good. It's all good if it's coming out your system
Yep.
and coming out your body. It's still healing at some level, isn't it?
Yeah, that's very true. Get it out of your body. I mean, my box became my body. And the more you release, the more you get it out, I'm telling you, the more you heal. And the other thing too, Lyn, It's never too late to tell your story. It took me 50 years. It took you, 42 years, I think you said. Get it out, let it out, because it's not worth keeping it in a box. And the only way to find hope and joy and peace in your life as a survivor is open up the box and let it go.
Yeah. And sometimes we don't know what we don't know, do we? Because I know, at some point, I can't remember how many years ago it was now, but I actually realized I'd been living all my adult life on high alert. And I hadn't
Yes.
even realized I'd been living like that.
Yeah. Like I said, I thought it was A-type personality. I mean, that high alert is survival mode. You've got to let go of the high alert. I mean, even my husband and my kids are like, Mom, you are such a different person. I get why you were always in control of us and always in our business. Now I understand you more than I ever have. And everything that I feared in coming public has actually been the complete opposite. I'm so happy I've done it.
Excellent. I loved having our conversation, Darlene. Hopefully we'll have some more going forward. And I really appreciate you being so vulnerable and so honest and so open and sharing your wisdom on this podcast today.
Thank you for having me, Lyn. I've really enjoyed the conversation as well. I am happy to come back anytime you'd like.
That's fantastic. So for all the audience members out there, just remember that true love starts with healing our hearts. And until next time, goodbye for now.
Thanks for listening to the Hearts Entwined podcast. You can follow Lyn via the Facebook group Two Hearts Entwined, or search Lyn Smith, inspirational speaker, at LinkedIn, or email lyn@hearts-entwined.com. That's LYN@hearts-entwined.com. Remember, true love starts with opening our hearts.